Weather today? Yeah, it's going to be fine. Here we go with the new sound for you.
Morning, you two. Did you sleep well? Good. Anything in the post?
From the post office. Something about the telephone.
We only paid it last week. Oh, you sort it out.
Douglas Webb and Company.
Can I speak to Mr. Webb, please?
It's the post office. They're doing some sort of survey. It's about directories.
Directories? Well, surely you can tell them whatever it is they want. I thought this was my call to Pearson's. What's happened to that?
I'm trying to get them.
Honestly, you'd think they got something better to do.
Directories are an essential part of any nationwide public telephone service. That is, directories which remain always up to date, with subscribers' names and numbers easily accessible. How else can we ever hope to place a call if you can't remember the number or haven't a note of it in one way or another, pocket diary or that pad you keep at home by the telephone? But as we get more and more subscribers, more and more names and numbers have to go in the book. For example, 10 years ago, a directory this size held comfortably all the names and numbers of all the subscribers in a typical area. Look at it now. And of course, we continue to extend the service. Clearly, there comes a time when they could literally burst at the seams. There's obviously a limit to the number of pages you can bind in a book. Twice as many subscribers means twice as many names and numbers in the book, which therefore doubles in size. And then we have to provide twice as many of these double-sized books to twice as many people. You see the problem. That's why there has to be a continuing process of dividing directories up in some way. And despite what some people might say about us, we do try to save money. The production of telephone directories nowadays is carried out by the most up-to-date methods anywhere in the world. Cost-effective, labor-saving. Setting up equipment and machinery like this on this sort of scale is expensive. Take business lines alone. In 10 years, they have increased nearly threefold. And this is what is nowadays involved in just one such entry in a telephone directory. When we receive an application for a business telephone, the information from the sales office advice note is fed directly into post office computer systems. Told is the name we have given to this development. Telecommunications online data. Visual display units providing fast, accurate and easy data input to post office computers to which they are connected by private wire.
The Telecom's online data system, Told, gives local offices computer facilities for entering information directly for subsequent processing. It replaces filling in forms by hand and other intermediate stages. The Tariff T control rack provides a link between incoming private wires and the local computers. Before translating into print in a telephone directory, a printout of this taped entry data is mailed back to the area office. This gives the area office an opportunity to check that it is as the subscriber wished before the information is stored in the computer. When the time comes for the directory to be published, all the relevant information is extracted from the computer records, assembled into alphabetical order and put on magnetic tape. At the computer centres, as well as the subscriber's name, address and telephone number, which have come up in the form of input data from the area office, we also add automatic typographical instructions for the next stage of actually printing the entry in a directory. That is, for example, upper and lower case control signals, typeface control signals, page numbering and column and page continuations.
It's our job as printers to turn those rolls of tape into rolls of paper. So the first thing we have to do is to turn those electronic pulses into letters of the alphabet, already set up in the correct spacing and right order as they have been by those clever computers. This is the clever machine that does it. Photocomposition it's called. Taking the tape from the computer, it reads this information electronically and projects it onto a cathode ray tube, rather like a TV game. This exposes what has now been transformed into lettering, in this way into a light pulse, onto a sheet of photographically sensitized paper, composing, like this, completely made-up pages of alphabetical directories in less than 5 minutes. After a copy has been approved and returned by the area office, units of several such now fully corrected photo-composed bromide paper pages are themselves photographed as a single sheet of negative film. Any imperfections, spots and such like, are removed from the negative, and the entire image of integrated pages transferred in relief to a similar sized sheet of photo-sensitized plate. The plate is then fixed around the main drum of a rotary press. And away we go, in excess of 30,000 sections of 72 pages apiece an hour. In a single operation, this extremely modern equipment is now able to produce 2 directories every second. That's over 7,000 in an hour.
And yet it can't keep pace with the demand without a restructuring of reference, for there's clearly a limit to the number of pages you can bind into a single book. That is why we have to divide directories. It's no longer feasible, or indeed necessary, for everyone to have one huge book with the names and numbers of all the other subscribers in the area. So what we have to do is restructure directories. That's what we mean by division. Divide what has hitherto been an area's single directory into 2 or more volumes. And an alphabetical division isn't necessarily the most practical, or indeed the most economical way to go about it, neither from the point of view of the post office or the customer. Take this area. Very typical. In the past, a single directory sufficed, but, for the reasons we all now appreciate, this could not continue to be so. Let's take a look at the place and see if we can establish not so much an alphabetical list of telephone subscribers' names, but more what you might call communities of telephonic interest.
I'd like to make an appointment.
Is Stephen free on Tuesday? Here's good. I'd like a perm and a manicure.
Newmarket, 3:30, £5 to win on Lover Boy.
Yes, we can certainly deliver to you by the end of the week.
We carry out surveys in order to establish if there is first of all a geographical as opposed to an alphabetical pattern of telephone directory usage. In one study area, we selected 2 systematic probability samples of telephone subscribers. One sample of 4,500 residential subscribers and one sample of 1,250 business subscribers. Questionnaires covered subscribers' views of the directory and their telephone number reference sources, as well as directory and telephone usage.
How often would you say that you nowadays use the telephone in your home to make calls?
It's always busy with Anne calling all her boyfriends.
Shut up. Wait till you get any girlfriends, if you ever do.
Mum, you're always phoning Gran.
Well, of course I am. She's an old lady and lives on her own. I think the answer is 3 times a day. How often each month would you say that you look up the number you want before making a call?
Sent by post, the residential questionnaire was completed and returned by more than 80%. The business questionnaire was administered by telephone. 90% answered our questions.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry to disturb you. I wonder if you can spare me a few moments. I'm calling on behalf of the post office. We wrote your organisation some time ago to ask for help. We're carrying out a survey to find out about the use of telephone directories. If your present directory were redesigned, which places would you like to see included?
Well, in and around this area. That's where I do all my business.
What our surveys have established is that something like 90% of the references people make are for numbers in their own immediate geographic area. So there really isn't any absolutely basic need for everyone to have increasingly bulky directories containing every single subscriber in the entire overall area. And for every one of the other 10 or less %, if you don't have the number in your pocket diary or that little list you keep beside the phone, there's always...
Directory inquiries. Which town, please?
Directory Inquiry Centre, which town, please?
Morley. Direct Inquiry Centre.
Fountain Street.
Good afternoon. Directory inquiries. Which town, please?
Therefore, what we did here was divide what had become an increasingly unmanageable and cumbersome single book into 3 smaller directories. One new directory for subscribers in the northeast, one for those in the northwest, and another for the south. Where customers need more information than that covered by the local directory, they may be provided with directories for the other areas. Apart from anything else, this meant we were able to make more than a 50% saving in paper. Not unimportant when you bear in mind that the cost of paper is now 5 times what it was 10 years ago, and still liable to increase, and by far the bulk of it has to be imported. Anyone who wants a directory for another area will find an application form in the directory they already have. At the Post Office Supplies Depot in Swindon, we handle up to 10,000 like this a day. In little more than a decade, business entries have alone increased nearly 3-fold. There comes a time when we just have to divide up, restructure what used to be manageable in a single book. And when this is done, it is done with just 2 considerations in mind. To maintain a continued standard of service and accessibility for the requirements of customers, together with cost effectiveness in production nationwide.
today. The telephone never stopped ringing.
Right, we're on our way. Let's go.
And where are you going?
Oh, she's going to see a film. The one with that new pop star. We saw him on TV the other night. You rather liked him.
I'll be late. What time does it start?
How should we know? Ring up and find out.
What's the number? I know, I'll call Cindy. She saw it last night.
Why don't you use the directory?